Good evening, everyone. Biswadeep, am I audible? Are you able to hear me? Biswadeep. Hello, everyone. Am I audible? Please answer me in the chat box.
चैट बॉक्सটা কোনটা চ্যাট বক্স কোনটা yes
Okay.
you are
Thank you, dear learners.
লিখবো
না লিখতাম ছেড়ে হ্যাঁ yes yes all
ঠিক আছে, অনেকে লিখে দিয়েছে।
আচ্ছা 2515 এইটা কি
Welcome, dear learners. As I am introducing myself. I am Dr. Kareem Ahmed, the course coordinator of this biodiversity conservation course. As I can say, you are in this 12-week biodiversity conservation course, and probably you are in the 8th week. I want to extend my heartfelt congratulations to each of you for your commitment to the vital subjects. Uh, I can say over the weeks we have navigated through the foundations, challenge, policies, as well as different strategies and the tools that actually needed to address the biodiversity crisis. What I can say, this journey is something which actually armed us with some kind of the knowledge and the skills to contribute meaningfully to biodiversity conservations in your personals, I can say, as well as in your professional lives. As I have already told you, you are in the probably you are in the 8th week. Let's take a glimpse of that what you have actually learned from these 8 weeks. And what we actually try, what the different uh, teachers actually try to convey the message regarding the biodiversity conservation. So, in the first week, I can say we actually laying some kind of the foundation for understanding the biodiversity itself. In the first week, we actually try to explore what actually the biodiversity is, what are the critical levels of the biodiversity, what is genetic diversity, what is species diversity, what is ecosystem diversity. And we also actually in this week we also try to identify the different threats actually faced by the biodiversity. As we all know, the how the biodiversity is in the crisis, just like habitat loss, pollution, climate change. And we also try to find out how the we can say our exploitation of these resources actually uh, are challenging nowadays. And we also try to know about the different mega biodiversity nations. and we try to highlight what are the mega biodiversity nations, whether India is the mega biodiversity nation is not. We all these things we actually try to cover in this first week itself. And and another things that regarding the mega biodiversity nations, we actually also try to find out that what's the importance, what's the global importance of the biodiverse nations. And in the second week actually we try to explore different conservation strategies. What are the, because the ultimate goal of this course is to know how to conserve the different biological resources. And in this week we actually try to uh, find out the different methods regarding what is in situ conservations, such as how we can actually conserve the biodiversity through national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, conservation reserves, and community reserves. And in the second week, we also try to explore different ex situ conservations. What are the different measures for the ex situ conservations, such as different zoos, botanical gardens. We also studied India's vast protected areas networks, that how many protected areas are there in India, how many tiger reserves are there in India. We also try to cover all these things in the second week itself. And another important topic that we actually try to discuss in the second week itself, uh, regarding, we can say, different transboundary issues that arise in biodiversity management. Because in this second week we also try to cover one of the important aspects of the biodiversity conservation, that although in one nation if there is a protected areas, then it's easy to manage them, but the boundaries is for the human beings, it's not for the animals. The animals easily move from one area to another area, they don't recognize the boundaries. So the concept of the transboundary is very very important if you really want to conserve the species, if you really want to conserve genetic diversity of the species. So we also try to cover these transboundary issues in biodiversity management. And we also try to emphasize that how the different nations actually collaborate to protect the different shared ecosystems. And in the third week, we go deeper into the different conservations measures. We actually focus on IUCN categories of the threats. What are the different categories of the uh, what are the different, I can say, different threats categories that IUCN has given, and based on which we can actually categorize the species. Based on the threats we actually categorize the species. But one important thing that I want to say, that we actually try to find out why there is a need for the IUCN threatened categories. Because you need to understand these particular things, that these we don't have unlimited resources. We don't have, we can say, unlimited manpowers. We have limited resources, we have limited manpowers. So based on these IUCN threatened categories, we actually prioritize the species, we actually prioritize the ecosystems. And based on these prioritizations, we actually allocate the resources. The species which are actually critically endangered will need immediate attentions, and the species which are actually vulnerable or near threatened or least concerns can wait. So based on these categories, we actually allocate these resources. And we actually because we have a very very limited resources for the conservation. So these things, these IUCN categories actually give some kind of, we can say, idea that how we can actually put the money for the conservation or for the wildlife conservation itself. And in the third week, we also studied different captive breeding programs and different reintroduction programs that actually very, very critical for the species recovery. Because the thing is that most of the species, just like that in India, we have a large captive breeding programs on vultures nowadays. The captive breeding program is also going on, we can say, busted. So some of the species which are actually unable to survive in the natural ecosystems, that need that species actually needs some kind of the access to interventions. So that's why there is a need arises for the, we can say, captive breedings. So when another things that we actually try to cover in the third week is a reintroduction program. Some of the species, some of the areas which are actually are very in good health, but due to some reasons the species actually are not there, then we actually reintroduce the species in number of the tiger reserves. The tigers are actually reintroduced in that particular areas. Just like I'm just giving you the one example of Sariska tiger reserves, that due to some poachings by the poachers, the all the tigers have been killed by the poachers, and later on the government of India, through Project Tigers, actually reintroduce the tigers in, we can say, Sariska tiger reserves. So we also tried to cover these captive breeding programs as well as the reintroduction programs in the third week itself. And in the third week, we also try to explore India's diverse, we can say, biogeographic zones, such as Himalayas, Western Ghats, Sundarbans, and we also try to find out their unique ecological as well as their unique cultural significance. And in the fourth week, we actually dug deep more into the biodiversity hotspots regions. The regions, I can say, which are of extraordinary biodiversity, that are also, we can say, highly threatened. And if we try to find out in India, India is actually home to four of the world biodiversity hotspots: the Himalayas, the Indo-Burmas, the Western Ghats, and the Sundalands. All these things, all the, we can say, biodiversity hotspots, and the Indian four biodiversity hotspots are actually were covered in the fourth week itself. And these regions actually are rich in endemic species, and also contribute significantly to the planet's ecological balance. Thus, these biodiversity hotspots actually, um, if we protect these hotspots, it is very very crucial for the preserving the global biodiversity itself. And in week 5, we actually turn into India's legal framework for biodiversity conservation. We actually focus on the Biological Diversity Act of 2002, which empowers actually local communities to conserve uh, biodiversity while ensuring the fair and equitable sharing of the benefits. We also explore the National Biodiversity Action Plan, which actually aligns national efforts with global biodiversity goals for 2050. And in week 6, we actually shifted to global states. Although in the first 5 weeks we actually tried to cover the different national frameworks, but in the sixth week we actually shifted to the global stage. We actually studied international biodiversity policies and different treaties like Convention on the Biological Diversity, and its protocols. We also tried to study the Nagoya protocols on access and benefit sharing, and we also try to study the Cartagena protocols on biosafety that actually provides insight into ethical practices and safeguard in the use of genetic resources and biotechnology. In the week 7, uh, actually we explored or we actually introduced different protocols and sustainable use of the biodiversity. In this week, we explored strategies for monitoring biodiversity under the Convention of Biological Diversity that actually ensure fair access to resources and mitigation environmental impacts. This week's actually also underscored uh, the importance of, we can say, ethical resources management for achieving long-term sustainability. And in the week 8, I think you are in the week 8, and the study material is already posted on the biodiversity web portal course. So in this 8th week, we study actually each biodiversity targets, which actually guide global conservation efforts and their connection to the international organizations like UNESCO, like Ramsar conventions. And in this weeks, you also find out, and we also discuss some of the practical strategies for achieving these targets, thus emphasizing the global collaborations. Although these are the 8 weeks that we have already covered, we have already gone through it. The lecture have already been posted on the biodiversity conservation course. We have remaining 4 weeks, and these 4 weeks are very critical because I'm also try to give you some glance of these coming 9th, 10th and 11th and 12th weeks, that what you are actually going to study in these weeks. Although in these 8 weeks you actually try to find out that biodiversity, we actually lay some kind of the foundations. We actually also try to find out the strategies global level at the national levels. But the coming weeks, if we try to find out what you actually learned in the week 9. In week 9 we actually focused on different societal aspects of the biodiversity. This includes, I can say, the critical roles. We actually try to find out what are the roles of the women in biodiversity conservation, and what are the roles of the women in the local communities in different conservation efforts, as well as in the different ecosystem services that actually biodiversity provides. So we try to find out the role of women in biodiversity conservation, such as clean water, fertile soil, climate regulations. So this will give you some kind of, you can say, glance of that. That's what's actually the role of the women in the biodiversity conservation. We also, in this 9th week that is actually coming, the lecture will be posted in the coming weeks itself. You also examined how biodiversity is essential for cultural, for spiritual, as well as for the economic well-beings. In and I can say the week 10 is very important. Those for those learners who actually try to find out what are the different measures for the biodiversity conservation. So we actually sample the biodiversity. So in week 10 you will explore the different practical tools for the conservation. You will explore the different sampling methods. What are the different sampling methods for the birds? What are the different strategies? What are the different protocols for sampling birds, mammals, as well as the habitats? And you will also try to find out what are the, one can say, uh, most important modern technology equipments that nowadays used for wildlife monitoring is camera traps. And in this week we also discuss that how the camera trap is used to monitor, to study the different wildlife species, particularly the species which are elusive, which are unable, we can say, uh, 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 because if we go physically to monitor the species, we are unable to find out. We can say uh, uh, physically see the species, but these camera traps actually help us to find out, to study, and to monitor all those elusive species which is unable to, in other ways. And it gives us some kind of, we can say, new we can say new ideas. We can able to study the new behavior. Some new outputs are coming regarding the behaviors and other things regarding the wildlife through these camera traps. And in week 11, introduce us someone just I'm just stopping here for week 10 because someone has just posted a message. I'm just going to read it. It is our course. I sense you can hear it. I will address, sure, Gurjan Sarkar, I will address your question at the end of the lecture. That all the, let's discuss, just let me finish this week 11 and 12, then I will address your questions. That how, what will be the pattern of the questions and what are the other things are there. In week 11, introduce us to, we can say, those who are actually, because one of the important things, because regarding studying the biodiversity, we need to, we can say, study each and every aspect of the biodiversity. And in week 11 you will actually we will introduce you regarding the importance of the herbariums and how we can prepare the herbariums, so we can actually preserve the plants biodiversity. Because herbarium actually serves as a repositories of the botanical knowledge, aiding research, conservations, and educations. We also learn field techniques from plant preservations and the careful care required to maintain these invaluable collections. And in the final week, I can say, in week 11, we address emerging challenge and different sustainable practices. we actually explored how the current scenario. We actually in the end of the week, in the 12th week, we actually explored what actually happening nowadays and what are the critical, we can say, crises that nowadays the biodiversity conservation is facing. So that's why we actually emphasize, we actually try to focus on urban heat islands, and how the urban heat islands actually impact biodiversity, and we examine the strategies for the biodiversity enhancement in urban settings also. And we also try to explore different modern tools in the week aids like RS and GIS technologies, uh, how as these tools are very very critical in biodiversity mapping and the plannings. And at the end of the lectures, in the 12th week, the end lecture actually focused on sustainable practices and initiatives like Mission Life, which actually advocates of eco-conscious livings, because everything that we actually doing is based on the sustainable development and the sustainable practices. The last week actually try, although in the first week, first to 11th week, you will find all the different strategies, things, tools that needs to conserve the biodiversity. But at the end of this course, we also discuss some of the measures that we can actually adopt at the individual level. What are the different sustainable practices that we can actually adopt uh, for biodiversity conservations, and it will give you some kind of practical examples that how if an individuals actually is trying to focus on some of the sustainable practices, these sustainable practices are very very helpful for in the long term for the biodiversity conservation itself. So that's why we actually also discuss the different sustainable practices, and Mission Life, which is also the we can say agenda or the prime policy, and one of the main objective of our honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Mission Life and the sustainable practices sellers. So these are the 12 weeks things that I have discussed with you regarding this we can say biodiversity conservation course. So one of the questions that if anyone have you have any questions, you can put on the chat box and I will try to answer regarding the same. One of the question that actually Gorachan Sarkar is asking, thank you Gorachan that you have appreciated our efforts that we have compiled this course, and some dedicated faculty members actually involved. I'm not the single one. Other 4 and 5 faculty members are also involved for this planning and for planning of these topics and the planning of this course. So that's why we actually uh, try to in a way that we are able to find out some kind of, we can say, good remarks from the learner itself. So you have a question that since you have registered for the certifications examinations and you want to know the question patterns in that exams and evaluation process, Gorachan Sarkars, the questions pattern is of MCQ. Every week you will get in your the 5 lecture course, you will get some kind of the assignments that is MCQ, and your final examination is also based on the MCQ types. One thing, another thing is that try to focus on your weekly assignments, because almost more than 50% of the questions that are there in your weekly assignments also comes in your final examinations, and rest I can say 20 or 25% or 30% questions comes uh, from the overall structure of the course. But you need to understand, if you go comprehensively to your weekly assignments, the more than 50% of the questions at the end exams will comes from the weekly assignment itself. You should try to focus on your weekly assignments, try to solve them, try to submit it on times, because both the weekly assignments as well as the end term examination uh, is is compulsory or is needed to get the certificate examination. Moreover, so you need to plan accordingly. Try to focus on the weekly assignment itself. That will help you in the end term examinations as well. Any other one have any questions, you can ask me regarding your examination, regarding the problem you have faced, regarding the, we can say, other things that you want to know about the course, or anything related to the course. You can ask, you can put your questions in the chat box. I will try to answers. Otherwise I will we can say share another PPT with you in which just wait for a while. Please wait for a while. So I'm just prepared a PPT, although I have in the first half I discussed the different we can say uh, course structures, what actually you have learned and what you are actually going to learn in the coming weeks itself. And if someone, I'm still asking you, if someone has any questions, they can put the same in the chat box itself. I will try to answers your questions itself. Okay, okay, you have Gorishan Sarkar has another questions. Will the exam will be conducted through computer or it will be paper based? It will be computer based. You can the examination center that you have choose. You need to go there, and it will be computer based. It will not be paper based. I think it will be clear to you, Gorishan Sarkar, that it will be computer based, not the paper based examinations. But again, I'm telling you, just focus. Uh, Okay, you have another things. So I have to create a detailed map of the reward. Okay, Sanjay Kumar, thank you for your, we can say, interest in mapping and geotagging, particularly on the tree mapping. We have another questions from Sachin Kumar, and the question is that he is interested in biodiversity mapping and geotagging, particularly focusing on tree mapping in urban ecosystems, and to create some detailed map of the tree biodiversity. And what I can say, because in this I will share you some kind of the resources regarding the same, and we have also we can say some GIS course regarding the same, because it's a biodiversity conservation course. It will not give you some kind of the full fledged lectures on these mapping and other things. We have just given you the glance of that. But if you are really interested in the mapping other things, this course will give you some kind of the idea regarding the same. But I will share with you one particular course, a basic course regarding the mapping, particularly in the urban settings, that will help you a lot. And one of my students also working on, we can say, urban setting using citizen science data. And if you are really interested, we will collaborate with regarding the SAMs, and you will also get in touch with him, and that will be helpful, that will be more helpful. But in the meantime, we'll also share some the link of some courses which actually help you in the geotagging and the tree mapping in the urban setting itself. Okay, another question is from we can say Japanita. I have taken more than one course for the SWAM, but I have no focused on only biodiversity conservation. Will be okay. It depends upon your interest, as well as the how much time you have. Because if you have taken more than one course, if you are not submitting the assignments of the other course, then you will not able to get the certifications, and you will not get the other things. But if you are focusing on the biodiversity conservation course, just actually do one thing: submit your assignments on times, and also focused on the weekly assignment itself. I'm repeating again that more than 50% of the questions from your weekly assignments are uh, are the same at the end term examination. So you need to be focused. You need to focus on, we can say, weekly assignments, because in the end term examinations, more than 50% questions comes from the weekly assignment itself. Okay, Sachin Kumar, I'm just sharing with you. I'm sharing everyone my email ID. You can contact me. I will give you the detail. Just wait for a while. Mr. Kumar, I have shared the email ID in the chat box. You can contact me. I will definitely help you regarding your queries, regarding your other things. Anyone else have any questions? I will take up. Uh, Face regarding the course, regarding everything. So I will, we can say, definitely I will try to help you. Okay, I think no one has other questions. So I think okay, there will be only one exam, right? The exam, there will be only one exam. I think, Japanika, you have, I think you have registered for the certifications, and you have for the examinations of the biodiversity conservation course, and you have chosen the centers in which you want to give your examinations. If you have registered, you need to go there. It's a computer-based examinations. There's only one exam. You need to appear on that. More than 50% of the questions comes from the weekly assignment itself. You need to attempt that, and then you will get the, after passing, you will get the certification itself. The examination will be, the final examination will be one. You need to, one more thing, I'm repeating again, one more thing that you need to understand, that you need to submit the weekly assignments as well as the, you need to attempt the final examination itself. Then only you will get the certificate itself. Weekly assignment is as important as the end examination itself. So don't miss the weekly assignments. Try to submit the weekly assignments in time. Otherwise, you will not get the certificate itself, because at the end, the SWAM, the NPTEL, the INI combine both the things, and based on certain percentage of the attenders, that how much weekly assignment you have submitted, then they will give you the certificates. Okay, another question from Japanita, 50% from the assignment will come in the end. Yes, more than I can say more than 50% of the questions come from the assignment itself. So that's why I'm repeating again and again. Let's try to focus on assignment itself. Okay, anyone have any question regarding the same? Okay, if you have any question, otherwise I'm taking up another lectures, that is I'm giving you some kind of, we can say, glimpse of endangered species management. I'm going to share one. Okay, another questions come from the Sachin Kumar. How have the biodiversity policy in India evolved since the Wildlife Protection Act of 1962 and the Forest Conservation Act of 1982? Because it's how, actually the biodiversity conservation policies actually evolved, although it was there. There are different acts, and were also yours in the British India itself, because and at that time I can say the most of the acts that was there at that times, that actually have been theirs for the extraction of the natural resources. That's not for the benefit of, we can say, for the natural resources. They try to explore the ultimate motive of the Britishers is to get more and more resources from the India itself. So all the acts, all the policies at the British Indias were, we can say, to extract the resources itself. So after the independence, during the initial periods, no one is actually focused on the biodiversity conservation itself. There is a ruthless destruction of the natural resources and the other things. But later on, we can say, when the different we can say media persons, different persons who actually involved in the biodiversity conservations, and other peoples, when they try to realize that the government is not actually focusing on the biodiversity conservations, they highlighted the things, and later on the Indian Board of Wildlife is actually constituted. And at that time, the Prime Minister of the India, Mr. Indira Gandhi, is very keen to protect the biodiversity, the wildlife itself. And another things, that how the policies actually evolved itself. The one important things that has been evolved, that the different policymakers actually try to focus on the wildlife itself, is when the tiger numbers actually declined from 40,000 to 1800s. This actually relies the create some hucksucks or rucksacks in the national media as well as the international levels. That then this, we can say, one of the umbrella act, we can say, I can say, for the Wildlife Protections and Wildlife Protections Act of 1972 came into force, and this act is actually still applicable. The recent amendment is of this particular act is on 2023, in which many new things have been added, and it has also already been amended, I think, for 6 or 7 times. I think 6 times and 7 times have been amended in, we can say, 2022. So in these periods, the international organizations has also comes into force. The different policies that we are nowadays, we are actually also the signatory of different international treaties, such as I can say these Ramsar conventions, the wetlands of international importance. We are also treaties of, we can say, migratory species treaty, in which the countries which are actually the treaties of these uh, signatory of these treaties are actually need to protect the migratory species in their areas, and all these things have actually happened over the period, course of times, and there are a number of the other things, and other we can say treaties are also there, in which India is actually also signatories in the biodiversity conservation itself. Okay, anyone else have any questions? Otherwise, I will start the another lectures, that is endangered species management itself. There are Sachin, there are a lot of challenges. One of the, we can say, I can say, the challenge that India is facing in biodiversity policies and the biodiversity conservations, because most of the policies are not we can say applicable at the, we can say, at the grassroots levels. We need to think, we need to first go at the ground grassroots levels, but and we need to find out what actually people actually demand, because every policies, the and for the success of any policies, we need that to find out what are the different stakeholders which are actually involved in these biodiversity policies. So just like, I'm just giving you one particular examples, that nowadays you can see that there is a lot of human wildlife conflict is there, but how we can actually manage this human wildlife conflict, uh, there are different, we can say, in some of the areas you can find out that these certain policies have been made, we can say, without consulting the local peoples, without consulting the local stakeholders, and they will, some guidelines have been framed and they will be implemented at the and at the end, what we actually find that they are not actually applicable in those areas. So what actually need, we need some kind of, we can say, groundwork before making any policies for the biodiversity conservation in India itself. Although we are actually doing a lot of things, the government, the Ministry of Environment, for Forest and Climate Change is doing a lot of work regarding implementing these biodiversity policies and other things, but still we are actually facing a lot of challenge, because I personally believe that we need to, if you really want to implement the biodiversity policy, we need to take the inputs from the ground, the people who are actually the real stakeholders for those policies. Then actually only these policies can be, we can say, implemented successfully, and then we actually we can say do a better conservation efforts in India itself. Okay, another, we can say, let's start another, we can say. Okay, Sachin, I have another question, sir. What do you think we need to focus on protecting natural biodiversity hotspots such as national parks, or we need to create small biodiversity pockets nearly urban or rural centers, keeping view of the research diversity? Both things are important. It's not like, Sachin, it's not like that we actually need to focus on one particular things. Both things are very, very important. We also, at the one hand, we need to protect the, we can say, protected areas, just national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, conservation reserves. On the other hand, we also need some biodiversity pockets itself. In the urban settings, because in the urban setting we don't have vast areas, we don't have vast landscapes to protect the areas. We need the small pockets itself. But at the other hands, in those areas which are actually which have a wilderness, we need to protect the biodiversity by creating more and more, we can say, national parks, by creating more and more wildlife sanctuaries, by creating more and more different corridors that protect, that actually connect the different protected one areas to another areas. Because uh, if we only focus on the different small pockets, then how we actually conserve the genetic diversity itself. Because some of the many large species, I'm just giving you the example of the, we can say, tigers and the leopards itself, they need as well as the elephant itself, so they are very actually, they need a very large areas for their survivals. So for those animals, we need a very big landscape approach for the protection of the biodiversity itself. But the other hands, because we also need some kind of developments, we also have urban settings. In urban settings, we also need, because urban biodiversity is also as important as well as the areas which are actually have wilderness. So on the other hands, we also need these biodiversity pockets itself in the urban setting itself, so that we can actually protect the biodiversity in the urban as in the protected areas or in the landscape by doing the landscape approach. Both things are important. It's not like we actually focus on one things. Both things are important for the biodiversity conservation itself. Uh, okay, I think uh, I've covered your questions, your queries itself. Anyone else have any questions? Otherwise, we will off today's sessions, and I will also take one more session. And in that particular sessions, in the coming week, I will take one more session. And in that particular session, I will actually discuss one important topic regarding endangered species management in India. And I will try to focus on a success story of the tigers. So in the coming week, I will, we can say, organize one more lecture. I'll take the one more session in which I will discuss the endangered species management in India, and I will, by focusing on how the tigers, by focusing on the success story of the tiger itself, because how the tiger numbers have been declined, and how, because of the different conservation efforts, how the tigers number has been increased nowadays. We'll try to find out all the things regarding this success story, that how, if we really want to, this success story will let you know that if you really want to conserve the species, it's not impossible. Everything is possible. It's only need a will to protect the species. So thank you all. Thank you very much, and hope you are enjoying the course. And I am repeating again that these 4 coming weeks are very important, and some interesting topics are also coming, just like the sampling techniques, just like we can say herbarium techniques, just like we can say RS and JS techniques, urban heat islands. All these things you will actually learn in the coming 4 weeks. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and thank you for joining this biodiversity conservation course. All the best.